The magic mirror and the wedding. Stella's best friend Celeste has invited her on a trip to Fantasyland in the USA. But the date clashes with a family wedding. Can the magic mirror help Stella? The magic mirror and the wedding. Hello, this is Moricott, and I'm here with the second in our new series about Stella and her magic mirror that gives her glimpses of the future. If you heard our first story, you will know that her grandmother also makes predictions, usually rather gloomy ones. But Stella is starting to wonder a few things about the future. For instance, does predicting something actually make it happen? Listen on to find out. When Stella arrived at school, she could tell right away that her best friend Celeste was excited about something. But the bell rang, and there was no time to discover. "I'm so excited, Bunny Boo. Last night Mummy announced that we are going to America this summer. We are going to stay in a 5-star swanky hotel in Florida. Isn't that amazing? I can't wait to lie on Palm Beach. And we are taking a boat trip in the Everglades to see some alligators. And also, wait for it, we are going to spend 3 whole days in Fantasyland. How cool is that? You are the luckiest girl in the world," exclaimed Stella, green with envy. "No, silly bunny. Daddy said I could bring a friend with me. And of course, I absolutely choose you. After all, you are my absolute darling friend. So pull your summer outfits together and get ready for Fantasyland." Stella was lost for words. But she couldn't stop jumping up and down with glee. When the bell rang for lessons, the girls skipped and giggled all the way back to class, holding hands. Stella could not think about anything else for the rest of the day. When school finished, she hurried home to tell Mum. She wasn't in, so Stella ran upstairs and sat in front of her mirror, the one that Grandma had given her, which could tell the future. "You naughty mirror," she scolded. "Why didn't you tip me off about the amazing news?" "Oh, I get it. You wanted it to be a surprise. Well, Celeste has told me all about our trip to Fantasyland, so it's not a secret anymore. Do show me what it's going to be like. Just the best parts, please." The mirror flickered, and a moving image appeared in the reflection. It showed the inside of an aeroplane. Celeste's family were in reclining seats, their legs tucked under blankets, watching movies on little screens. An elegant air hostess was walking up and down the aisle, serving drinks from a trolley. But hang on. What was this? The girl sitting next to Celeste was not Stella. No. That was Jasmine, who wasn't even Celeste's second best friend. A distant third, maybe. How could this be? Hadn't she just invited Stella? "Don't play mean tricks on me, you bad mirror," exclaimed Stella furiously. She heard her mother come through the front door, and ran downstairs to tell her the news. "Mum, guess what? I'm going to Fantasyland. Celeste's family invited me to go with them." Mum put down her shopping bags and checked her phone. "Oh, I know," she said. "Celeste's mother sent me a message about it this morning. I don't want to disappoint you, darling, but the date clashes with Sabrina's wedding, and you can't miss it. She is family. And family has to come first." "Oh, pooh," said Stella. "Double pooh." Tears were welling up in her eyes. Now, said Mum firmly. "But why?" asked Stella. "Why on earth does Sabrina want to marry Eduardo anyway? I don't get it." "Maybe, because he's good-looking, drives a brand new Lamborghini, earns loads of money, and he's on first-name terms with celebrities," said Mum wistfully. "Oh, and he's a great cook. Apart from that, I can't think why anyone would want to marry him." Back in her room, Stella sat gloomily in front of her mirror. "Oh, mirror," she said sadly. "How I wish my cousin Sabrina would call off her wedding to that boring, big-headed Eduardo. It sounds mean, but I'm sure it would save her from making a terrible mistake." And then the mirror gave her a little cause for hope. This is what it showed her. Sabrina was having her designer wedding dress fitted. She stood in front of a mirror and, would you believe it? The dressing mirror she was looking into suddenly cracked all the way down, for no reason at all. Sabrina gasped. "Wow, thank you," exclaimed Stella as she watched the scene. "That's the worst omen possible. Breaking a mirror means 7 years of bad luck. She's bound to call off the wedding now." And do you know what? The next day at dinner, Mum told Stella, "Well, it looks like your wish has come true. Sabrina posted on Friendbook that she's calling off her wedding." "Yay. I knew she would see sense," said Stella happily. "Please, can you call Celeste's mum and tell her I can go with them to Fantasyland? There's no time to waste before they invite Jasmine, or another girl instead of me." Mum called, and Stella's trip to Florida was back on until 2 days later. Sabrina changed her mind and announced that she was getting married after all. Eduardo was the apple of her eye, and she couldn't let a silly superstition change the course of their lives. So Stella's mirror had been right, unfortunately. Jasmine was the lucky girl who flew to Florida with Celeste and her family. Poor Stella was grounded in England. The summer dragged by until the big day arrived. Stella was not at all excited. Dad drove them to the country church in his open-top Triumph Stag. It was made in 1972, 10 years before Mum was even born. Stella sat next to her brother in the back of the noisy, rattling car. The wind was messing up her hair. She did not know what to expect from the wedding. She had secretly asked her mirror, "Do show me all the funniest things that will go wrong. I bet Eduardo doesn't even show up." But the mirror just gave back her own reflection. There were no guarantees with the mirror. It could be mysterious when it wanted to be. They arrived a bit early, which was a surprise, because Dad's car was not the most reliable way to get anywhere. Thankfully Stella wasn't a bridesmaid, at least she had managed to wriggle out of that, so she sat with her family 3 rows from the front. She waited for her cousin Sabrina to arrive. Mum secretly looked around for a bit of celebrity spotting among the congregation. She recognized a few faces, but they didn't have names that Stella had heard of. Eduardo and the best man were already standing by the altar. Of course, Sabrina was late. And of course, Eduardo consulted his flashy watch a few times. The best man checked his phone, while the vicar twiddled his thumbs. And they waited some more. Eventually, the best man's phone buzzed. He checked his messages and whispered to Eduardo. Eduardo gulped and whispered to the vicar. The vicar stood up and said, "Dear friends, we have received some surprising news. It seems the bride has had a change of heart." The congregation gasped, including Stella. Oh my! Now she was feeling guilty. She had been thinking bad thoughts about her cousin's wedding and she wondered if somehow she had willed all this to happen. Could it really be her bad thoughts that were at the root of this family disaster? But she did not have to worry for long, because Grandma turned around and whispered to Mum. Thank goodness the girl saw sense at the last minute. "Oh, you did not," hissed Stella's mum. "You didn't, did you? Don't tell me you gave Sabrina any of your psychic predictions." "Well, I might have mentioned that Eduardo will soon get fired. You know, as manager of the Laughing Llama nightclub in Berkeley Square. It will be quite a come down. He'll have to spend a year working as a waiter. All his celebrity friends will drop him like the plague, of course. And what's more, his mother is plotting to move from Peru to live in their spare bedroom. And on their first anniversary, Eduardo will take Sabrina on a surprise date to a football match." "Mum, how could you?" "Well, I had to help her make an informed decision," said Grandma defensively. Stella was trying not to laugh, not because she was thinking mean thoughts. She did feel sorry for Sabrina. It was funny because the whole thing was so typical of her grandmother and her predictions. The congregation was shuffling towards the doors of the church when the bells started pealing again. At first, Stella thought the bell ringers had missed the news about the wedding being called off. But then a rumor went round that Sabrina had changed her mind yet again and was on her way to the church. Another 10 minutes passed before the organist could bash out, "Here comes the bride." 40 inches wide. A blushing bride and her father walked up the aisle. The couple had to rush through their idos because time was short, and when the vicar announced, rather nervously, "Should anyone present know of any reason why this couple should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." Mum quickly reached forward and covered Grandma's mouth with her hand. And after all that had happened, Stella actually felt relieved how everything turned out. She thought it was a beautiful wedding, and wouldn't have missed the happy look on her cousin's face, not even for a trip to Florida. And that was Magic Mirror and the Wedding, read by Mijana for Storytime. I do hope you enjoyed this story, the second in our brand new series about Stella and her future-telling mirror. Tune in soon for more exciting stories. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more video.